Hi, everyone. Welcome to my new 10-minute conversation. I don't know what I'm going to call it, but I'm going to come up with a name. I'm going to use this 10 minutes to, speak to anyone and everyone about, various topics, mostly about real estate. I used to do a lot of video, and then I stopped because I got busy, like everyone else is. And, I think I'm going to make it a more consistent part of my, social media activities, because it's a great way to not only connect with people, but to keep everyone abreast of what's going on in the New York real estate market in real time. So my name is Ella, and I am with the Curve New York team at Compass. Most of you already know me. For those of you who don't, please feel free to reach out to me at any time with questions about New York City real estate. My email is ella@compass.com. And for today's program, I am speaking with Big Loan Ramon, who is my go-to financing expert for home borrowers. I have referred him to a multitude of borrowers, and they all come away very, very happy with his knowledge, his professionalism. He has a very warm demeanor. He can work with seasoned home buyers and people buying their first home who really need to be walked through the process gingerly. So thank you for joining us, Ramon.
No, thank you for having me. Nice to speak to you through Zoom.
It is. It's the wave of the future.
Yeah.
So Ramon, let's start with the first question you guys get asked probably every day. Where are rates?
Yes, that is usually the first question. Rates are really good. Rates are still historical lows right now. The last week of February was probably when we bottomed out. And then since then, rates have sort of gone up and down. But now, it's April 23rd, and I would say we're probably almost back to where we were that last week of February. So yeah, they're still really good.
Okay. And in terms of, how is business for you? Because I know for us, business is pretty much at a standstill. Most buildings, even if you wanted to, which of course we wouldn't because it's unsafe, you can't show for people's safety. We're on lockdown. So business is pretty much stopped. I did have a closing about a week and a half ago, but of course that was already in process before the lockdown. So how are things with you?
They're good. There's still a lot of activity. I'm still busy. There's probably not as many deals going into the pipeline right now, which is what a lot of people I'm sure are dealing with, but I'm still active in the sense that I'm staying in touch with clients. People are still reaching out, asking questions. And what I'm seeing a lot of is people reaching out with the intent of doing something after things settle down and there's more stability out there. So they want to do things to get ready and have things in place so that when we get to the other side of this, they're ready to go and they've got everything situated to pull the trigger.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be an opportunistic market, definitely.
I think so. Yeah.
Someone who reached out to me to say, I'm thinking about buying, what do you think the market's going to be like? And I actually think the market's going to rebound much more quickly than, other people. So there's like two sides. I'm on the side that by the last quarter of this year, we should be in a pretty solid market. I definitely know after things get lifted, you have those people that were planning to list in the spring that didn't. And then you have those listings that were pulled because of the quarantine. So you're going to see all of that product hit the market. And I think it's going to be a really, a good time for buyers. So it's good that a lot of people are getting poised to take, advantage of it. So in terms of buyer qualifications, has that shifted because of what's going
on? I wouldn't say that customer qualifications have really changed. I would say more that internal guidelines with the banks have changed. Some examples of that would be sort of the loan to values. Maybe some of the loan to values are different when somebody approaches a bank looking to buy a primary residence or looking to refinance or looking to purchase a second home. Maybe those guidelines have changed. And something else that's going on too are more frequent verification of employment. With the things that are going on right now, a lot of people unfortunately are losing their jobs. So the environment, the process might take 2 months. And so when you start the process, you might have a job at the beginning, and then unfortunately 2 weeks later you don't. And so that verification of employment has to happen, and sometimes it changes and people don't have a job by the end of the process.
Right. Yeah, I've had a few of my colleagues whose deals have, gone south because people's employment situation has changed, which is super unfortunate because I can't imagine, going through the process, especially for a first-time homeowner, and then, having that affected by what's going on. But have you had deals die because of that, or is this, stuff that you've heard about?
It has affected me. I wouldn't say they're dead. I don't like to give up on things, but I have 2 deals that were cleared to close. They were pretty much ready to close. And they did a verification of employment right at the last second, like they normally do, typically. And unfortunately for these 2 individuals, they had been laid off because of the environment. So we had to hold off on closing. I still have them in my pipeline, hoping that once this ends, they'll get their jobs back and we can get them closed, complete that verification of employment and get them closed. But for right now, yeah, they're just sitting there, haven't been able to close.
And then in terms of the products that you're able to offer, have you seen, because of what's going on, an elimination of certain products?
The big one for us right now, cash out. We cannot, and this I guess doesn't affect you so much, but for me on the banking side, refinance cash out. We cannot do those at all.
Okay.
So
and
that's a big one that's a big one we lost right now.
And this is something I have been thinking about, the forbearance, because I've had a couple of friends reach out to me and say, want numbers to be connected, so they can deal with, suspending mortgage payments. With the forbearance program, how do you speak to people about that? Okay, so let's say, you enroll in the program, at some point, your mortgage is going to have to get paid. And I'm sure in a lot of these cases, it's, everything, right at the end of that period. So, it's sort of like a catch-22. And I think people have to think, very carefully about making that decision. So, what do you say to people who call you to inquire about that? And what is Wells's process?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak. I'm not I wouldn't say that I'm well versed in that program. They don't want us to speak too much on that. But I will tell you this. Yes, ask questions. A lot of people don't really understand what their options are as far as resuming those payments. So for example, with Wells Fargo right now, you have the option to defer payments for 3 months. But a lot of people need to ask questions about, what do I do after that 3-month period? Do I have to pay everything back all at once? Can I put that amount on the back of the loan? Are there any penalties? The answer to that is there are no penalties. It's not going to affect your credit. And you do have options on how to pay that back. But if you are planning on refinancing, the deferment or the forbearance process might affect you. It's supposed to be something that helps those that are facing hardships. So if you're facing a hardship, then when you're going through that refinancing process, things might become a little more difficult.
Right.
So that's where I would say you have to start thinking about that a little bit more.
So ask those questions so, it doesn't come back on the back end to
right.
You.
Yeah.
And in this, because we're still in a low rate environment, there is an argument to be made that maybe taking advantage of the refi, right? Because I know that when you refi, there's kind of like a little bit of lag time before your first payment starts. So like maybe a month or so. So maybe refining, taking advantage of the lower rate and that period, right, that month period would make more sense than dealing with the 3-month forbearance.
Right. Yeah, for example, if somebody were to close today, April 23rd on a refinance, their first payment wouldn't be until June 1st. So hopefully with the refinance process, they're lowering their payments, however much they're lowering it by, and they're not having to make that payment until June 1st. So they're skipping May, and then you're starting a lower payment on June as a result of your current refinance.
Right. Okay, very cool. Some nuggets to think about. I think we've done very well in our first Zoom interview conversation.
I
I get
hope so.
too
I
comfortable.
hate being on camera, but
I know it's
it's
uncomfortable.
what we got to do.
Before we started this, me and Ramon are like setting everything up, and you're like, "Do I sit like this? Do I do this? You know, do I drink water?" It's so uncomfortable. But I do know that because I was doing them a little bit more regularly before, you kind of get more used to it and like talking to camera and all that sort of stuff. So, well, I'll be
Right.
cured by the end of this. It'll be good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, and we'll talk again. We'll get some, get into some more questions that could help all the buyers and sellers out there. I really do think that in the market that comes after this, buyers are going to have an excellent opportunity, and I'm looking forward to working with everyone. Ramon, can you tell us where we can reach you?
Yes. BigLoanRamon.com. That's
Very,
simple.
I can't believe you got that. That was that expensive? That big loan?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't expensive at all. No.
Yeah.
The biggest thing was to get it approved by the bank, which I was fortunate enough to have approved.
It's so funny. Every time, like I had a friend who there was some website or something I wanted to get the .com. Well, obviously it's not a friend anymore. And I was like, oh, this is a good name. And then by the time I went to get it, I found out she had bought it. So you're lucky I didn't buy Big One Ramon. I would have sold
A friend of mine was going to do that. He was going to buy it, take it from me, and then he was going to charge me a nice little premium to buy it back from him. So I'm glad I didn't fall into that. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, Ella. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.